Marcus absent-mindedly plucked at the strings of his acoustic guitar as he sat cross-legged in the shade of the giant oak tree in Centennial Park. The warm breeze rustled the emerald leaves overhead while joggers and cyclists weaved along the nearby path. But Marcus was lost in thought, his dark eyes unfocused behind black-rimmed glasses as his fingers moved on autopilot, coaxing a melancholy melody from the weathered instrument. It had been exactly 1 year since Natalie left. 1 year of solitude and sorrow, regret and rumination. Their love had burned bright and fast, an inferno that consumed them both until there was nothing left but ashes and smoke. She was a whirlwind, that girl impetuous, passionate, reckless. And Marcus, ever the introvert, found himself swept up in her wild energy, captivated by her untamable spirit. Together they were magic until suddenly they weren't. The final blowout argument still rang in his ears. Hurled accusations, shattered glass, a slammed door, then nothing. Silence as heavy as lead. He replayed it constantly, wondering what he could have done differently, if he could have been enough for her insatiable desire for more. "Nice tune," a voice said, startling him from his memories. A young woman stood before him, a halo of sunlight illuminating her honey-colored hair. She smiled warmly. "Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt. You just looked so lost in your own world." Marcus blinked, slowly registering her presence. "Oh, yeah, I guess I was." He stopped playing and moved to set down the guitar. "No, please, keep going," she said quickly, gesturing at the instrument. "I didn't want you to stop. It was beautiful, in a heart-wrenching kind of way." He hesitated, unaccustomed to playing for an audience anymore. Not since the coffeehouse gigs he and Natalie used to do together. She was the star, all charisma and soulful vocals. He was content being in her orbit. The woman sat down cross-legged facing him, seemingly oblivious to the dirt on her sundress. She had a smattering of freckles across her nose and intelligent green eyes that regarded him curiously. "I'm Rosalind, by the way. Rosie for short." "Marcus," he replied, fingers still resting on the fretboard. "So what's the story behind that song, Marcus? It sounds like it came straight from the depths of a broken heart." He sighed and resumed picking out the wistful notes. "Doesn't every song?" Rosie tilted her head, considering. "I suppose most do stem from some sort of love or loss. Music has a way of saying what words alone can't express." "You sound like you speak from experience," Marcus observed, studying her over the rims of his glasses. She smiled ruefully. "Let's just say my collection of breakup ballads could fill a greatest hits album. Love is a fickle muse." They sat in companionable silence for a few moments, Marcus' melancholic finger-picking mingling with the sounds of the park. He still wasn't sure why this stranger had decided to stop and chat with him, but something about her easy manner was oddly comforting. "I find that playing out here helps," he found himself saying. "Makes me feel a little less alone with my thoughts, even if no one is really listening." "Cheapest form of therapy," Rosie quipped, "though I prefer dancing it out myself. There's something cathartic about losing yourself in music and movement." An idea sparked in Marcus' mind, surprising him with its suddenness. "I don't suppose you sing at all?" She laughed. "Only in the shower. Why do you ask?" He shrugged, feeling uncharacteristically bold. "Just thought maybe you'd want to jam sometime. I haven't played with anyone since." He trailed off, the ache of missing Natalie hitting him square in the chest. Rosie's eyes softened with understanding. "Since your devastating breakup with the girl who shattered your heart and made you question everything?" Marcus' eyebrows shot up. "How did you?" She waved a hand dismissively. "Like I said, I know a breakup ballad when I hear one, and I've got a sense for these things. Call it a gift, or a curse, depending on how you look at it." He shook his head in amazement. "Well, your spidey sense is impeccable. It's been a year and I'm still not over her. Pathetic, right?" "Absolutely not," Rosie said firmly. "There's no expiration date on grief. Healing takes time." She reached out and squeezed his arm, her touch infinitely gentle. "But it's good you're still playing. Don't let the things you love become collateral damage." A lump formed in Marcus' throat at her words. Music had always been his escape, a way to express depths of emotion that felt too big for his reserved nature. When Natalie left, a part of him wanted to put down the guitar forever, the memories too painful. But he couldn't abandon that part of himself completely. Rosie glanced at her watch and groaned. "Shoot, I've got to run." "But I meant what I said about jamming." She pulled a pen from her bag and scribbled on the back of a receipt, pressing it into Marcus' palm. "Here's my number. Give me a call if you ever want some company in your misery. Maybe we can put our talents to good use and start a support group band." She winked. Marcus chuckled, closing his fingers around the bit of paper. "I'll keep that in mind. It was really nice to meet you, Rosie." "Likewise, Marcus. Thanks for the serenade." She stood up and brushed off her dress. With a final wave, she jogged back to the main path and was soon lost in the early evening crowd. Marcus sat back against the trunk of the oak, mind reeling from the unexpected encounter. He couldn't remember the last time he had such an effortless conversation with a virtual stranger. Rosie had a way of making him feel seen, even in his melancholy. He unfolded the receipt and looked down at the looping purple scrawl of her phone number, a faint smile playing at his lips. Maybe, just maybe, a new song was beginning. Over the next few weeks, Marcus found himself spending more and more time with Rosie. They met up for coffee, for meandering walks through the park to people watch and swap theories on their lives, for impromptu jam sessions with her on vocals and him on guitar. Her voice was untrained but earnest, and blended beautifully with the soulful timbre of his playing. They mined their respective heartbreaks for lyrical inspiration, purging their pain onto the page and through the music. Little by little, the tight ache in Marcus' chest began to ease. The bad days still rose up without warning, but more and more, he felt the warm glow of hope flicker to life. Thoughts of Natalie no longer consumed his every waking moment. Instead, he found himself wondering what outrageous story Rosie would tell next, what adventure she would drag him on, what melody they would compose. "You know, I think this might be the longest I've gone without a devastating crush on someone wildly unavailable," Rosie remarked one afternoon as they sprawled on a blanket by the duck pond, lazily strumming and scribbling. Marcus raised an eyebrow. "Should I be insulted?" he teased. She swatted at him playfully. "Oh, stop it, you know what I mean. This," she gestured between them, "is something totally different, uncomplicated, easy." "Wow, way to make a guy feel special," Marcus drawled, unable to keep a straight face. "You are special, dummy," Rosie said, poking his leg with the end of her pen. "Which is why I refuse to ruin it by developing some inconvenient, unrequited affection. You're my broken-hearted buddy. We're like an invincible duo of emotional wreckage. It's perfect." Marcus smiled, knowing she was mostly joking but feeling the warm swell of affection all the same. Rosie had become such a bright spot in his life, an unexpected lifeline when he was drowning in despair. The effortless platonic intimacy they shared was unlike anything he had known before. In a world obsessed with romantic love and grand declarations, there was something refreshingly simple about their bond based on shared secrets, healing, and an unshakable belief in each other's resilience. One crisp autumn evening, Marcus stepped out onto the small stage at the Coriander, his favorite indie coffeehouse downtown, to perform his first set of original songs in over a year. With a deep, steadying breath, he adjusted the mic and looked out over the buzzing crowd. His eyes immediately landed on Rosie at a front table, beaming at him like he had already won a Grammy. He had extended the invitation on a nervous whim, unsure if he was truly ready, but her enthusiastic, "I wouldn't miss it for the world," had bolstered his courage. "Hi everyone, I'm Marcus Adler," he said into the mic, wincing at the slight feedback. "It's been a while since I've done this, so bear with me. These songs, well, they came from a real painful place. But I couldn't have gotten through it or be standing up here without the support of some amazing people in my life." His eyes locked with Rosie's. "This first one is brand new. It's called Healing Strings, and it's dedicated to a dear friend who helped me restoring my fractured heart." As the first chords rang out, pure and strong, Marcus felt something shift deep inside him like a final puzzle piece locking into place. He poured his whole self into the music, all the gratitude and fondness and hard-won growth of the past months. The words flowed easy, his deep baritone wonderfully imperfect and utterly his own. When the last notes faded away, the audience erupted into applause. Marcus ducked his head, overwhelmed, as Rosie leapt to her feet, whistling loudly through her fingers. He caught her misty, pride-filled gaze and grinned, realizing she had been right all along. The things we love should never become collateral damage, especially when we feel damaged ourselves. In that moment, he could almost tangibly feel the cracks and fissures knitting back together. He would never be the same, but he would be whole, a mosaic of all the love and loss and glorious messiness of a life deeply lived. Because that's the thing about the healing power of friendship and music and bearing your soul. It doesn't erase the scars, but it makes you realize how beautiful they can be, how strong they make you, how much more you have to give. With a final bow, Marcus stepped back from the mic, heart drumming in time with the applause. He knew the journey was far from over. Grief was strange and nonlinear that way. But for the first time in a long time, he felt ready to trust, to open, to strum his way into whatever came next. Because with the right strings and the right people, even the most damaged heart can learn to play a new song.